Hello, I'm Africa 54 Managing Editor Vincent McCory in for #TheYouWord. It's Tuesday, November 29th. This is Africa 54.
DRC Peace Talks by the EAC resumed again today in Nairobi, where the main topic was disarming insurrectionists. A London museum has returned 72 looted art treasures, including a dozen Benin Bronzes. David Doyle details the transfer. The 16 days of activism against gender-based violence continues today, with VOA's Lenord Madu interviewing a UN official in DRC. All this and much more on today's Africa 54.
We begin in East Africa, where the third round of consultations for the peace process in the Democratic Republic of Congo, facilitated by the East African Regional Bloc, is underway in Nairobi. The participants are discussing reforms that will promote the disarmament of rebel groups. VOA's Paul Deho has more.
East African community heads of government met in Nairobi on Monday in a show of solidarity to find a sustainable peace process for the troubled region of the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Kenya's President William Ruto and Burundi's Evariste Ndayishimiye attended the opening session in person, while presidents of Congo, Rwanda and Uganda attended virtually.
It is for this reason that all the heads of state of the East African community, of which I raise my voice to represent them, come together as one to make security and stability their priority in the east of the Republic of Congo, in particular, and throughout the region in general. This is why you brothers and sisters, the member Community State Defense Corps, have agreed to sacrifice themselves for you, dear Congolese brothers and sisters. Your enemy is now our enemy.
Chers frères et sœurs congolais. Former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta urged groups yet to honor the ceasefire to do so expeditiously to give way for the humanitarian assistance to the fleeing residents.
Young groups that are yet to cease hostilities, to honor their commitments, to cease armed activities, and to grant unhindered humanitarian access, and the full deployment and operationalization of the East African Regional Force.
Kenya's President William Ruto says the leaders of the East African community will do everything possible to find a lasting peaceful solution to this conflict.
This is why we have taken a decisive position as heads of state of the EAC to do everything possible to find a lasting peaceful solution to this conflict. And I dare say we will not relent.
Despite billions of dollars spent on one of the United Nations' most significant peacekeeping forces, more than 120 armed groups continue to operate across large swaths of eastern Congo. In addition, the ongoing conflict between the Congolese army and M23 rebel forces in the country's east is stoking tensions between the DRC and Rwanda.
We therefore welcome the region's swift response and the robust mechanisms being established to save lives in eastern DRC and address the dangerous escalations that threaten neighboring countries, including Rwanda.
7 countries of the ECA, which Congo joined this year, agreed in April to set up a regional force to help fight the militias. A contingent of Kenyan troops has already been deployed in the eastern DRC as part of the regional force.
The dialogue should be preceded by a ceasefire where there is active fighting and disengagement of forces. The peaceful solution should be the outcome of the dialogue.
The M23 rebel group rose to prominence a decade ago when its fighters seized Goma, the largest city in Congo's east, which sits along the border with Rwanda. Paul Ndiho, VOA News, Washington.
Well, ownership of the 72 looted artifacts, including 12 Benin Bronzes, has been returned to Nigeria by a London museum, increasing pressure on other institutions. David Doyle has more.
London's Horniman Museum signed over ownership of 72 artefacts looted by British soldiers in 1897 to the Nigerian government on Monday. The items include 12 Benin Bronzes, created from brass and bronze in the once mighty Kingdom of Benin in what is now southwestern Nigeria. Professor Abatijani, Director General of Nigeria's National Commission for Museums and Monuments, was at the Horniman to sign the paperwork with the museum's chair.
Great excitement and, relief, because I feel that the right thing has been done.
British media reported that, under the deal, 6 artefacts will be returned to Nigeria, with the rest remaining in the UK on loan. Benin Bronzes were among thousands of items seized by the British that ended up in museums across the United States and Europe. African countries have, for years, battled to recover such works from Western institutions. Tijani said most museums are now involved in repatriating the Benin Bronzes, but questioned why some are just watching.
And I think that is why, if you see that this is happening, and important museums across the world are also involved, are ready to repatriate, then every museum should do so, because hanging on to looted objects is no longer tenable. It's morally wrong and ethically wrong for the institutions of museums as well.
Those words may have been designed to be heard a short distance from the Horniman. London's British Museum holds by far the largest and most significant collection of Benin Bronzes. These latest returns could pressure the British Museum to further address its cultural legacy of colonialism.
David Doyle of Reuters fired that report. Well, now to Qatar, where the Senegalese national team, the Lions of Teranga, is squaring off with Ecuador in a must-win game. Senegal has to win if they are to advance to the round of 16. For the very latest, VOA Sunday Shomari joins us live from Doha. Hello, Sunday. Come on, tell us what's going on. It must be electrifying there at the moment.
Absolutely. It is electrifying. That is the word, Vincent. Simba or Lions of Teranga, Senegal, right now, they are fighting like nobody's business because they need to win this game. As you say, it's a must win. They're leading 2-1 right now, but Ecuador also is giving up a very big fight. As the captain said, Koulibaly, this is the Lions of Teranga. We must win. But also Ecuador, Vincent, are saying this is history in the making, because they didn't make it last time around. They want to make sure after coming to the World Cup again, they are going to the round of 16. So it's going to be a very tough game.
Indeed, it is. They have to fight like lions, and my prediction is that they're going to win. What's the reaction like by especially the fans there from Senegal?
Fans from Senegal, Vincent, are very optimistic that they have a very deep squad, despite of missing the one and only, as you know, the man himself was expected to feature, but he couldn't, Sadio Mane. But they say Ismail Assar has been given that duty, and he's leading the charge with the country to make it happen. And tonight, he made the first goal with the penalty, so they believe this team can make it to the second round. And it's going to be a great game, but it is not going to be easy, I tell you that. They have a very tough task to deal with tonight.
Got to fight almost like Kenyan Lions. Now, finally, we know that in a few hours to come, the United States is going to play with Iran. What has been the situation like as this excitement builds up?
As you know, there's so much excitement. We have so many Americans in this country already ready to see this game. They say they have a young team, but they believe they have a good team to win this game. But at the same time, if you remember, Vincent, the last time around they met was back in 1998. I don't know where you were at that time, but But Iran won that game, and they played and with a high spirit. So this time around, USA coach says, you know what? We have to do the same. We have to give it up all we have, because you either win or you go home. But also, they sympathize with the Iranians of what the situation is going on back home, as we all know. So it's going to be a great game, Vincent.
Well, thank you. I remember I was in Germany. I remember that game. Sunday, thank you very much. That's VOA Sunday Shumari reporting live from Doha in Qatar. And how about going to the West African country where millions of Senegalese are rooting for their team as it plays against Ecuador. For more World Cup excitement, let's go to VOA's Abdurrahman Dia live via Skype from Dakar. Abdurrahman, it's 2 up. How is the feeling like in Dakar?
Oh, wow. Let's say that people are going through a lot of emotions. As I was setting up here for the live, I had to step up from the fan zone. 2 goals have been scored, one for Ecuador, who had to come back, and now Senegal is ahead again. People are really, it's very hard for many of them to take it. A man who was there just left right next to me saying that he just can't take it, so he would rather just wait and basically hear the cheers or something, the screaming, hoping that it would be for Senegal. So people are very tense, very happy, but at the same time, the next 15, 20 minutes will be very, very hard for the fans here.
We can only say,
yes.
It's nail
biting.
They're
hoping really it will stay that way. Sorry.
Yes. How has been the assessment, especially given that the key player that was expected to be the goal scorer is missing, but the team is performing the way it is performing at the moment?
Yes, it is true. And people have been saying all along that it is up to the team now to step up and show that Sadio Mane is one of them. But even if he's not here, they can do it. And that is the opportunity for younger players like Iliman Ndiaye to show what they can do. And the public here, the fans have been calling for Coach Aliou Cissé to put him to start the game. And he did. And from what I'm hearing so far, the fans seem very happy with Iliman and the other young players who have been put forward today.
You know, Africans across the continent have put a lot of hope in the Senegalese team now. Do you feel like there's anxiety or excitement from the fans there?
There is a little bit of both, but actually, Vincent, Coach Aliou Cissé, after Morocco won, was saying this was actually a big motivator for not only Senegal, but for all African teams. And we see what Ghana has done, also Cameroon nearly beating the other day, winning the other day. So really, they are hoping this would be a wake-up call, and that it is the beginning, and at least one of the teams, at least 1 or 2, will make it to the next round.
Okay, and just very quickly, in terms of the next round, the next team, if they go through, what do the people think about the next team they're going to face?
It will be tough. If it's the U.S., that would be interesting for us. You know, if it is England, it would be tough. But I think at this point they really don't make any, prediction or calculation. Yeah. They just want to go through, and whoever comes is fine for them.
Yeah, soccer is a game of surprises. Abdurrahman, thank you very much. Viewers, Abdurrahman Dia reporting live from Dakar in West Africa. Now, still to come, a 16-day global campaign to stop violence against women and girls. Don't go away. Well, in other news, a national police spokesman says Somali forces ended an hours-long siege by al-Shabaab militants targeting a popular hotel in Mogadishu where 8 civilians were killed in an attack. The U.S. Justice Department says 3 U.S. citizens of Cameroonian origin have been arrested and charged with raising funds for separatist fighters in the Central African country. And officials said the grave of South African anti-apartheid hero Chris Hani has been vandalized days after court ordered the far-right gunman who killed him to be released on parole. Well, Ghana's Black Stars defeated South Korea 3-2 in their second game at the World Cup. It was described as one of the most exciting games of the tournament. Jackson Mvunganya reports from Accra on the jubilation by Ghanaians who cheered their team to victory.
It was a day of great joy and celebrations here in Accra, Ghana, as thousands of fans around the city watched the national team, the Black Stars, take on South Korea in their second match of the tournament. Fans gathered at this park outside of Ghana's Broadcasting Corporation, beating drums, dancing and singing throughout the match. Jubilations only got louder as the Black Stars scored each of their 3 goals. And as they soaked in the afternoon Accra heat, the jubilations and the music grew louder until the final whistle was blown to end the game. And that's when they embraced in joy, relieved that the Black Stars had pulled off one of the most dramatic wins of this tournament. Portia is a professional footballer here in Accra, Ghana. She plays for Faith Ladies, a local women's soccer team. This is what she said about the game.
So, Portia, what do you think Ghana did this time around to change the dynamics? How were they able to win this game?
Ghanaians were very
determined.
Speak
a little louder for me, yeah.
Ghanaians were very determined to win this game. They went all out. Their pressing was superb, and they weren't giving the Korean team to possess the ball too much, even though they were having their chances, but they were blocking most of their chances. So I think Ghana went all out. They gave all their best today.
Does this give you confidence that going into the Uruguay match that the Black Stars have a better chance of beating them?
It gives me more confidence. I'm overconfident. Ghana can win, even go extra mile to win the cup. Yeah.
What advice would you give to Coach Ado and his team going into that game?
A little advice I can give Coach Ado and his team that they should keep on the pressing. The pressing was helping Ghana, and the determination spirit was so high. This team is very, very good. They have quality players. So all they have to do is to maintain the pressing game. They have to press more. Take their chances.
Keep offense.
They have to take their chances.
Why do you think South Korea was able to make those 2 goals in back-to-back by draw?
Okay, at a point whereby, you see, when you are winning a game, mentality, you think that you are off, you are there. But at a point where you don't take your chances, the opponents overtake you. So I think that was the mistake Ghanaians did. They thought they've won the match.
So Ghana relaxed a little bit.
Yeah, they did relax very much.
But then they were able to again come back in. Yeah. All right, thank you so much. Nice to meet you. Yeah. So Gloria, what do you think the Black Stars did today to win this game?
It was a bit nail-biting. We're glad that we won.
Nail-biting?
It was nail-biting.
Yeah.
I mean, to have conceded within under 5 minutes again, just as we did against Portugal. So, you know, it was a bit difficult. But, you know, we're glad that the Black Stars...
There was a lot of tension, right?
Absolutely.
I could feel that tension.
Absolutely.
But also the vibe was amazing.
Amazing, especially after the 3rd goal.
Yeah.
You know, and then
when people are now confident that we got this in the bag.
So, you know, we've got Uruguay next, and Suarez.
We're coming for Suarez.
We're coming for him.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Jackson.
Action Jackson Mvunganya there reporting from Accra, Ghana about that. Well, it's time now for a health report, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Mudu. Lino, hello.
Hello, Vincent. Hello, everyone. Well, get this. A Zimbabwean doctor has developed a novel way of providing desperately needed mental health therapy for his poorer compatriots by using grandmothers. Sitting next to a patient with depression on a garden bench in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare, 70-year-old Sherry Ziwakayi speaks gently, offering accessible therapy with a warm and reassuring smile.
Are getting help here. The old and the young come here with their problems.
Zimbabwe's psychiatry professor Dickson Chimbanda's concept is simple. A wooden park bench where people experiencing common mental disorders sit and receive free therapy. Dr. Chimbanda's friendship bench has proved popular and offered much-needed accessible therapy.
The mission of
the Friendship Bench, which has always been my mission, is to take people out of depression. But our big, ambitious vision is to have a friendship bench like this within walking distance everywhere.
43-year-old Joyce Gia says she owes her life to the service offered on the benches.
I came to a point where I wanted to commit suicide because I had been blessed with twins. I had nothing to give them since I was unemployed.
Grandmother Ziwakayi has offered therapy from the benches for the past 6 years, seeing an average of 3 clients a day. Patients come from all walks of life. The grandmas are given a stipend for their services, and the operation is financed by Dr. Chibanda's NGO, the Friendship Bench. His therapy model is now being exported to the Football World Cup in Qatar.
So at the World Cup, there will be 32 benches representing the competing teams. And this is a symbolic way of really illustrating the need for all of us, not only people attending the World Cup and not only the participating teams, but all human beings, to find a way of connecting with each other.
What a fantastic idea. Well, the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence kicked off on November 25th, a global campaign to call for the prevention and elimination of violence against women and girls. United Nations data shows that over the course of their lives, 1 in 3 women will face some form of gender-based violence. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, women represent about 51% of the population, and gender inequalities are particularly observed in economic, political, social, and cultural settings. For more insight, I spoke to Dr. Eugene Konui, the UN Population Fund representative in the DRC.
Gender-based violence cuts across both the rural area and the urban area. It cuts across also levels of education, although it is more common in women who are less educated. But it cuts across because it is grounded on the tradition, on non-social norms that tend to affect everyone.
In analysis, UNFPA found that, among other things, traditional and religious practices have some negative impact on gender equality in the DRC. How so?
Tradition is good. There are forms of tradition that actually protect people, especially vulnerable women and girls. But there are other forms of tradition that also exposes and increases the risk of gender-based violence. We are working with religious and traditional leaders to see how we can put an end to them.
And speaking of that, you have initiated the Lubumbashi Forum on Tradition and Religion to put an end to gender-based violence in the DRC. Talk to us about this initiative. What does it entail?
The objective of the forum was to bring together traditional and religious leaders to reflect, to brainstorm on the strategies that they can put in place in order to address gender-based violence. Because it is grounded in tradition, we look at gender-based violence in the development setting, not just humanitarian sector. The second thing is that it was the first time that we brought together both religious and traditional leaders to sit together on one table from all corners of the country and try to find out what they can put in place in order to address gender-based violence. And the third thing that makes it particularly important is that we know that religious and traditional leaders do not work alone. They work in an ecosystem. So we also brought the other players to sit with them on the table, such as civil society, women association, the young people, the government, the donors, the UN agencies, to sit together and listen to them and support them.
When we think about tradition and culture, it's so entrenched into people's habit. How do you convince them, and how much of an impact are they willing or able to make when it comes to changing traditions?
One thing that actually also surprised us is that most of them, if not all of them, are actually very progressive. They want to preserve the good tradition, but they're open to actually put an end to the harmful practices. So they were quite excited to come and see how they can work together. So much so that after the conference, they decided to sit together and actually start brainstorming. That for the first time, they're able to sit and discuss some of the common issues that face them.
So what transpired from the forum, and what are the next steps?
The religious and traditional leaders drafted the Lubumbashi Declaration to end gender-based violence. And all of them, they signed the declaration The second thing that happened is that they developed their action plan, concrete actions that they are going to take in order to ensure that their declaration is implemented.
Rape as a weapon of war. What is your take and what is UNFPA doing on that front?
Gender-based violence as a weapon of war still happens. And it happens in the context of humanitarian crisis, in the context of armed conflict. And actually, I'm happy to say that the government is aware of this. And last year, the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo created a national fund for the reparation of conflict-related gender-based violence, and also created a national commission for transitional justice to bring justice to the victims of conflict-related gender-based violence.
We've also seen that during COVID-19, gender-based violence has increased in some parts of the world, including in some parts of Africa. What can you tell us in terms of the experience in DRC?
The impact, given the fact that the lockdown was not that much serious in DRC as in some other countries, the impact wasn't that much, but it affected and had an impact in the terms of the number of cases that we are seeing. There is a database, but the database just shows the tip of the iceberg, because there are many cases of gender-based violence that do not actually come forward because women, they face stigma, they fear retaliation. So many of the cases, we cannot actually get them.
What do women do to protect themselves?
First of all, to talk about women protecting themselves, men need to also protect the women. They have a strong role to play because that is why UNFPA engaged boys and men in the process, because they are the cause and the solution of gender-based violence. We have been working with women, but working with women without getting men involved won't provide a solution that is comprehensive, that we can finally say we have put an end to gender-based violence.
That was Dr. Eugene Conway, UN Population Fund representative in the DRC. And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on Twitter at Linor Moudou. Vincent?
Oh, that's great reporting.
Thank you.
And just before we conclude this show, as a house doctor, World Cup is going on, and there have been questions about the health impact, especially among the fans of the game. What would you say? How does it affect people?
Let me just say I'm not a house doctor. I'm your house doctor. But listen, it's actually with the fun of the games and everything, a lot of people are really under a lot of tension. The fans, they want to see their teams win. So you see the pressure, the adrenaline and all this pressure that fans are going through when the game is going on, or before or after. And there have been cases even where some people had strokes, heart attacks and everything. So yes, it's time for fun, but we have to be careful.
All right, yeah, we need to be careful. So, well, thanks a lot, Lino, and that's all for now. For all our viewers, thank you and have a great evening, and be sure to watch us on